Now I have 2 microphones.
Nice.
What does that do?
I thought for sure Trent's chair was going to eat it, bro. I'm waiting for that thing to collapse, man.
Structurally.
He's all leaned back in it.
Oh,
Whoa.
God, I heard out like a rocket.
I wish I had a remote control light. Kill all the lights real fast. Wake up all sweaty.
Mike throws down something. Runs out a bunch of smoke.
Like a ninja. Dude. So
Flashbang.
yeah, so I used to remember the old magazine Black Belt from like the 80s or 70s probably. Were you guys born in the 70s?
I was born in the
I was. I think we both were, yes.
So I ordered the Ninja Throwdown Bomb Explosion. You can
I wasn't reading magazines when shortly after being born.
You know, in all the Ninja movies, they poof, like what you just said,
Yeah.
and they disappear. So I ordered those, and it was a smoke bomb with the little snappers, 3 snappers taped to it. It was like $24, and that's what you got, dude. All right, where were we?
You got to pause.
I have no idea.
For easy editing, we need a pause. Oh, that's right, Mike. You just reminded me. Trent, you're going to have to tell us
I'm Trent.
Verne. I know. Verne, you're going to have to tell us the S10 Blazer story Mike keeps gloating about.
Yeah, so
That thing was evil.
Yeah, you love that, right?
Oh, so yeah. I bought this pile of shit.
I still have the magazine with that one featured in it.
2005, I think, or 2002
Oh.
maybe.
What?
No, it was like
it was. You're talking about the year of the car?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about.
Yeah,
when you
no,
bought
it was 2016 Ultimate
Yeah.
Adventure.
Oh, right.
I don't know. 02, 05.
I think it was
doesn't
an
matter.
02. It doesn't matter.
220, 221.
The small S10 Blazer.
Yes. S10 Blazer, 4-door red, 4.3,
Yeah.
4L60.
And it was for sale for a while. And Mike was like, it's for sale right now. That's my Mike voice.
when I bought it, it had a NP233, the electronic shift, but I got the 231 out of a S10.
Oh.
And, did a rebuild on it with a 6-gear planetary.
Oh, nice.
He bought it from a auto shop, which should have been the first clue that something was terribly wrong.
I mean,
Really?
why are you so skeptical?
In Sun City or something like that.
An auto shop or body shop? What'd you say?
No, it was an auto shop,
Auto
like
shop.
a repair shop or
Oh,
whatever.
okay.
Which means it probably came in with a blown-up transmission, and
They did
the
the
people
minimum.
just gave it to the.
Oh, I'm sure.
guy
I'm
got
sure.
to a
No,
tranny out of
he,
his
the guy who sold it, his story was that it was a good customer and that they asked him to help sell it.
Oh,
And I'm
one
sure
of those stories.
whatever.
I'm
It
sure
ran when he parked it.
I already believe it. They just
that was a beautiful car. It was red. Did I mention that?
It was badass looking. I mean,
It was clean. I'll give you that.
And you
it was clean. You fixed that. in
straight
short
axle
order.
swap.
Yes, yeah. It was definitely cursed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I bought it and I kind of thought it would be fun because it was like a grandpa car. Nothing had ever been modified on it.
The intentions were good.
It had never had a K&N air filter put into it. I mean,
Right.
it was just bone stock. So I bought it, and I had we had gone out.
That Super Cab F-150 44, which is like unobtainium.
We'd gone out to
It's
a
leaf
junkyard.
spring, driver's side drop, 44.
Yeah, with heavy
From a Ford.
axle tubes, high pinion Dana 44.
That was a score.
Yeah, it was bent.
that was a
but
junkyard
Got
fund.
it
That was
straightened.
a junkyard. It was just there in the middle of the
It
junkyard.
probably still
$150
leaks because it did when I sold it. I put that under there with some Wagoneer leaf springs, so they're with the offset pins, so I could push the axle forward. Have relatively short spring in front of the tire.
Yeah.
And shackle reversal. I think I rebuilt the pack so they had some lift springs in there, but they were basically just Wagoneer springs. 231 that had all the goodies thrown at it, and then a 9-inch Ford, which I'd bought from somebody who lives up the road
Nice.
here. I mean, I have no idea who they were. It was a
Right.
F-150 or F-100 9-inch. And I don't know. It worked pretty well. Rob Bonney helped me build the front bumper, which was bitchin'. It was like a beautiful bumper.
Yeah,
it was when
was.
I realized that Rob Bonney builds. I was like, I just want to build a winch bumper. Can you help me? And he builds this winch bumper, or I think I did most of the work, but he told me what to do.
Right.
And the winch bumper was fucking beautiful. I mean, it was like a $2,000 truck with a $25,000 no, not quite, $2,500 bumper on the front of it. I
Right.
mean, the bumper was
Yeah.
nicer than the truck.
It definitely had that appeal. You know, that's the one magazine I still currently have laying around,
yeah.
and it has great like visual appeal
It's
to
a
it.
beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful bumper, and he ended up putting a roll cage in it, but not before. I think that when like the first shakedown run, Trent
The
and I went out.
very, very, very first time the thing had been
We went
off-road.
out. We went out, and we were cruising around north of.
Hadn't even been in 4-wheel drive yet, as I recall.
No, I don't think. I think that I put it in. I put it in 4-wheel drive to remove it from the
From the
disaster.
incident,
Yeah.
Oh.
So we're driving along. We're we're trying to go. We're up near Castle Hot Springs out here,
Lake Pleasant area.
northwest of Lake Pleasant, northwest of Phoenix. And we're kind of cruising around trying to. There was some area that I wanted to go explore. I think.
Copperopolis or something like
Yes,
that.
Copperopolis. That's it. We had some of the handheld radios, which we never have. Like I don't know why we had radios. Like whenever we go four wheeling, we don't want to talk to each other. If we're in the same car, we don't want to talk to each other. Like if we're on a long drive, we'll tell each other stories because we pity each other for having to drive all day. But when we're on the trail, we don't want to talk.
That's funny.
It's not
So
necessarily the case, but whatever.
I'm fucking around with the radio, and there's a big washout, like a big washout
Big
on
one.
the inside of a turn, and I didn't see it, and I wasn't going fast. I wasn't, nothing. I dropped the passenger side tire into the that hole, and it was deep. It was 2-3 feet deep.
But he does it at probably 10 miles an hour.
I wasn't really going fast, but I
Right.
wasn't.
But
He wasn't.
he wasn't crawling either.
Yeah, I mean it was like a dirt
I mean, it
road.
came to a dead stop.
Yeah. So the tire drops in there, and the car kind of pivots around it, and it's still in 2-wheel drive because I've never put it in 4-wheel drive. Like the hubs have never been locked.
Right.
I've rebuilt the axles, everything's custom, everything. Never had it in 4-wheel drive. This is before the Rob Bonney bumper and
Right.
roll cage. The frame is bent. Like the frame bent at
From-
the motor
from
mount,
this instant?
from hitting that hole.
Wait a minute. So, lock the hubs, put it in 4-wheel drive, back it out. There's something
tires are
very
like-
wrong.
The tire is like rubbing the cab.
Yeah, there's something very, very wrong. We're sitting there staring at it, and all of a sudden,
turned it off.
the radiator explodes.
The radiator fucking explodes.
I
Like,
mean, when-
blam!
Thank goodness neither one of us were under it because it exploded.
We didn't.
Like
we
the
didn't.
tanks came off the top.
We didn't pop the hood. We weren't even thinking about the radiator. We were just like, why is the tire so far back?
We're looking
Why
for
is it-
bent springs or whatever. Well, it turns out the frame was so bent that it tweaked the radiator enough that it just popped the fucking cores.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
But
Oh,
it
yeah.
fucking exploded. I mean, it was like a bomb went off. It
Yeah.
scared the shit out of both of us.
Yeah.
It was the two of us in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
So
I drug your ass all the
he
way
drugged
back
me
to
with
pavement.
that buggy with a
That's
toe
right, I was in the
strap.
buggy.
The
yeah.
TJ buggy.
Yeah.
Yeah. All,
All
the way
back to pavement, and then I went and got
yeah.
the trailer. I think.
Yes. And we trailered it.
So that was the beginning of my
first
dislike
time
for
it
that
hit
particular
dirt.
car.
Right.
That particular car.
So I blame I was dicking around with the radio when I drove into the fucking hole. And that's I mean,
But it
everybody
bent
makes
the
mistakes.
frame.
It bent the
Right.
frame.
Was
Like,
it what
that
is an
that shouldn't
open?
happen.
Was it an open
No,
C
it's
channel
like a
frame? It's all box.
Hydroform Chevy
Yeah.
frame.
It bent.
It should
the
not
frame.
have. It should not have done.
Do you think your current vehicle in the same scenario would bend the frame?
I don't think
I
so.
hope not, but it's possible.
I don't
I mean,
think
I don't
so.
really
There's an
feel
aggressive
like
hole.
it was a deep, deep hole, like that came out of
It
nowhere.
was a 37 swallowing hole. Yeah.
But it
That was only the
it was,
beginning,
like,
though.
legit in the middle of the road. Like if I'd have been paying attention, I would
Yeah.
have missed it.
Yeah.
But
It was like
if
when
I
I
had
came around the corner, I was like, "How did he not see that?"
somebody else
Jesus,
drove
dude.
into it, and somebody else will have driven into it if they haven't fixed it.
That's funny.
So fast forward.
Yeah.
So
The story is not over.
Yeah, it's not even close from what I remember.
So you fixed the frame, you put the bumper on it,
I fixed the frame.
put a radiator in it.
Yeah.
That's important.
Oh, I put I put
That's
a radiator.
important.
So I go to the parts store and I get a radiator, and it comes with the engine in those vehicles is cool.
Has an oil cooler
that's integral into the the radiator.
This is important.
As it turns out, when you replace the radiator, you want to use the factory fittings for that oil cooler. The fittings that come with that radiator are shit. They're junk.
Oh.
I'm driving this thing home.
I think from Rob's.
Yeah. I'm driving it home, and one of those lines blows out of the radiator. It pumps all of the engine oil out. And
Seizes the motor.
And you're like at the end of the dirt of your house, right?
I'm like half a mile from my house, if that. Not even like a quarter mile. It's a quarter mile to my house.
Right.
Oil pressure goes to 0, and I'm like, well, I'm a quarter mile from my house. I'm going home. I didn't know that this line had popped off. I didn't have any idea why it dropped to 0 until I got to the house. I didn't make it to the house.
And there's a line.
It locked the motor up.
Yeah. New motor coming.
So I call one of the really reputable junkyards.
Don't ever go to
locally.
Glendale Auto Wrecking.
Yeah.
People.
They sell me a
100,000 mile 4.3.
Yeah, it supposedly has 100,000 miles on it. I put it in. I don't think it makes it like a week.
I think it went like 1,500 miles. And granted, at this point, we're now neck deep in building the CJ6.
I'm building the CJ6 during all of this.
You don't have time.
And a plan for this S10 to go
bring
on
it on
Ultimate
Ultimate
Adventure.
Yeah, that's your ride for the Ultimate
Yeah,
Adventure. Right.
And I'm supposed to bring it because I have to carry a cameraman around.
Yeah.
So it's not like
You need space.
I need a car.
Right.
Oh, and is that the year that Shrink Ray was a rental car?
Yes, Shrink Ray was a rental.
So it wasn't like I could be like, oh, I'll just take my Jeep here.
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, because you had 3 of them make it on that one. Then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. God, what else happened?
So wait.
It should have tried to kill you somewhere.
We're in the throes of trying to put the actual UA car back together, and I'm swapping the engine in the S10 next to it because
Again.
I have to again.
As
it turns out, it's a fucking pain in the balls to change a 4.3 in an S10
Well,
Chevy
so
Blazer
little in there.
2002.
Well, and then
You have to raise the motor up, pull the motor mounts out, and then drop the motor back down to get at all the bolts at the back of the transmission.
Like the top of the bell housing.
Shit, I'd have drilled a hole right through the
I-
firewall.
I should have.
And then
So
there
where did the
was-
next motor come from?
So
That
I
was a
went
good
down
wrench.
I went down to the GM dealership and said, "I will
Whoa.
take
I
your
will do a
finest
good wrench."
4.3
Yeah.
liter."
Oh, wait a minute. So with the second motor, what happened to that? It just was old?
It just blew up. It like made it a week. I don't even like.
100,000 mile 4.3 did not have 100.
It had
took a shit.
sawdust in it. It was junk. Like it was they'd completely pulled the rugs, the carpet over my eyes. I mean, I completely got.
And now you're so pressed for time. It was just
There was-
easier.
Yeah, I mean,
And I'm not changing the engine in this thing again. Like I will push it out into the yard and light it on
And
fire before
They
I
keep
put
those
it
There
in
were
stock.
discussions.
Like you could go day
No,
off.
like a
it
day
took
or
a
two.
took a couple days
ship
to
it,
come
ship
in.
it in.
But like a good wrench GM 350, like those Reman or the 4.3s or whatever.
Yeah.
Just any good wrench engine is
Fairly
solid.
cheap.
I mean, well, and they're not cheap by.
I think
junkyard
it was
standards.
$2,000
Yeah.
for the.
But
Compared to your 1,500
but it's
turd.
like 15,000.
No, I don't know what I paid for the. I
Oh.
think it was $600 or $700.
Oh, okay.
But
still,
50,000 mile warranty.
Yeah.
Yada yada. I mean,
That goes a
Yeah.
long
It
ways.
goes a long way.
yeah, it was a good engine.
Yeah.
That one was.
That was solid.
Yeah.
And then
We were
don't forget
fighting
about
to
the
put that
quarter
thing in
window
there.
exploding.
Huh?
Don't forget about the quarter window exploding.
Oh yeah. So Rob Bonney, I
Which are
paid
unobtainium.
Rob Bonney to put put a roll cage in it because it needs a roll cage for Ultimate Adventure, and so Dave Tucker, who's the guy with the green FJ40 that's been on the last 2 Ultimate Adventures as the reader, as an invited reader, and then the returning reader, he actually built the cage that's in that S10.
I didn't know that.
He built it, and it's kind of cool because it's EXO in the front, like where you're sitting, but internal in the back of the car.
Yeah, it's like a hybrid cage.
Yeah.
It was cool.
It goes through the roof. Well, as it goes through the roof, and I'm fully welding it up, it apparently moved the body around enough to. I'm in the shop, and I'm like, it's like this time at night, and I'm just about ready to go in, and I hear it sounds like a sheet of plywood falling flat on concrete. You know, like a wham, like if it
Perfectly
fell flat.
Yeah.
I had no fucking idea what the noise was. I was walking around the shop like, what was that sound?
All
I
scared.
had no idea. There isn't a sheet of plywood in the shop.
Right.
And then finally I realized that like one of the quarter windows in this car is blown out and there's glass everywhere.
From the body twisting from the heat.
Yeah, from the I don't know whether like a weld BB hit the glass or it was like as it was cooling it was turning enough. They're glued in, so
Right.
it's not like it changed the shape of the window, but it could have torqued it. It could have torqued the glue mount.
Just exploded.
It fell out.
Whatever. It blew up. It fell out.
That's funny.
in the shop,
So, yeah.
not on a trail.
As one piece because it didn't break till it hit the ground.
This may or may not have been before the end. Because the engine, like the engine that was on UA, like we put it in.
That day.
I think
night-
Durham did a lot of the
Yes.
installation
Yeah.
on it.
Like half of the cronies are working on the actual UA
Yeah.
car.
And
And
half
the
of
other
them
half of
working on
the
his
cronies are working on my pile of shit.
I remember
Blazer.
seeing it on Instagram or one of the social medias, and you guys were literally supposed to leave in the morning, and it's like 10 o'clock at night, and you got tons of people sitting in the shop waiting,
Yeah.
and half the guys, and everybody was there,
Yeah.
and you were putting an engine in the S10.
Yeah, so everything, I got a new window. You glue the window in. It's okay. Everything's fine. I don't know how much money I spent on it. Let's not talk about it. Who cares? We finished the UA car with the cronies' help. Everybody goes to the hotel. Harry Wagner's like hanging out at the house. Harry's a good buddy of mine. He's an amazing photographer.
Yes,
He's like the
Harry's a
world's-
great guy.
Harry Wagner is the world's finest off-road photographer.
Wow.
He is amazing. Harry's a great guy. He's a good buddy of mine, and he hung out and was going to ride with me to the hotel.
Which is actually like right over here
Yeah.
at Happy Valley and I-17.
Do you have to
So-
be at the hotel?
I'm actually
have
I'm
to.
planning to stay at home that
Right.
night, but I have to get Harry to the hotel, and I think there's some reason
There was
we're
a
supposed
meeting,
to be
I think,
there
or something.
like that. So Harry and I jump in the thing. I think it was dark, or it was 5 o'clock, or it was starting to get dark. We're driving down the 101. And there's a big curve, like a big sweeping curve, I think right at the 17. And this thing starts the weirdest death wobble that I've ever experienced in my life. And it's like, it's uncontrollable. Like it goes ape shit. I've been in Jeeps with death wobble.
It was nothing like that.
With RAM
nothing.
assist, too?
Because he did it. He made it do it for me. Because I was like, what?
So Harry's sitting next to me. Harry looks over at me, and like Harry looks at me like, and Harry's done this maybe more than once while I'm driving. So maybe part of it is me. But this was the first time. He looks over at me, and like Harry's pretty sure we're gonna die. I'm also right there. Like I'm pretty sure we're gonna die.
Are you
like
on one of the big overpasses, the big loops?
We're going like
Sweeping.
65 miles an
Yeah.
hour, and this thing is just like, I mean, it is all
And
over
it's
the
the
place.
weirdest. Yeah.
All over the place. It's some death wobble that occurs when you start a turn at speed.
And it has to do, I think, with,
It was some kind of weird lean steer, whatever. Harry and I, like, hand to God, both of us thought we were going to die. Like, how it didn't end up barrel rolling down the I-10 or the 101, I do not know. I was driving, and so if I was a cocky person, I'd say it was because of amazing driving skill, but I'm not. It was fucking luck, and I have no idea why.
Did you hit the brakes or hit the gas?
I wasn't. I don't know. I don't remember.
Coast.
I think I coasted.
Yeah.
But I've been where it gets worse or better, depending on.
Which way
It
you go?
doesn't matter which way you go. Like
Oh.
if you hit the brakes, it gets worse. If you gas
Yeah.
it gets worse.
Yeah.
Whatever you think you're gonna do,
And
is
you know
wrong.
what all those parts are just doing under there, and you're like,
Oh my
holy crap,
God.
something's going to fly
I
off.
have no idea what's going on. So we almost die. We go to the hotel. Harry and I are scared shit. I'm sure we showed up looking like sheets. Because I thought we were going to die. Like, I literally thought we were dead. I mean,
Didn't you say something like he said, I do not like this?
And the fact you're
that was the second time.
Oh.
Was Harry the one that's gonna ride with you the whole trip?
No,
also?
no. But So we get to the hotel and it's dark. It's like nighttime. We have whatever kind of meeting we're supposed to have or whatever. And then the next day the event starts. And I'm like, this motherfucking car needs a track bar. Like, I'm not driving this motherfucker on UA.
And he's been doing like 18-hour days consecutive in the middle of the summer during record heat or whatever. He's exhausted at this point.
Yeah. And I'm like, this motherfucker has to have a track bar or it's not going
with
over.
leaf springs.
With leaf springs.
Hey,
was
YJs
a
used to come like
lean
that.
steer thing.
I don't know what
mean,
it was. The only thing that I could think is I did kind of put the springs in there kind of at a fairly aggressive angle. Like the front was up higher than the back.
Yeah, quite a
but
bit.
I was trying to keep the thing low. And I don't know. Like,
But
why
it was
would
this-
it's
it
leaf
was this
springs? Like, how
weird-
can you fuck it up? I don't know.
Dude, my Jeep, the same exact thing. It would flop. And I ended up putting brass light aluminum in the frame and the upper bushing on the front because the shackles
Interesting.
would flop.
Huh.
Brendan Metcalf said it's called, I don't know, metal on metal. It
Oil
doesn't
light or
work.
whatever.
Yeah, and it was aluminum thing inside an oil light, and that solved my problems because I had the same thing. The front axle was literally going side to side.
It was walking under the Jeep.
Yeah.
I don't know what was going on,
frightening.
but it was scary as shit. And it wouldn't happen unless you were going like 55 miles an hour.
So how did you do the whole
But
trip?
I knew going on UA, I was going to be going 55 miles an hour at some point. So I was like, I have to fix this.
Yeah.
So for whatever reason, Harry gets back in the car with me, and I think we took surface streets and drove like
Yeah,
10
took
miles an
Happy
hour
Valley
back.
all the way back.
And we stayed up all night, and I built a track bar. And the track bar solved it.
Really?
The track bar cured the problem.
Yeah.
But, man, oh, man, like...
How did you know it needed the track bar?
I've been in cars
just-
a few times. Well, I just knew that the
just
axle was
felt-
moving like this. So I
Yeah.
was like, if I put a track bar in there, I mean,
It
so
was
the
almost
axle's
like an
moving.
oscillation sort of a thing where it was like
It was like a
would lean
skateboard.
steer.
yeah.
Yeah, but it would lean.
I mean,
steer,
it really
but then-
was like if it would start
Yeah.
leaning,
You got
and then
skate
and then it
wobble.
would get worse.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's what it felt like.
That's
It was
crazy.
Weird.
The only thing that could make this story better is if your rear axle got death wobble too. You know, like if you had front and rear.
So that
mean, but I think-
UA did not. That this is not the end of the story
Oh,
with this
jeez.
Jeep,
With this
the
car.
truck, the
Yeah.
car. So, so I put a track bar on. It takes all night. Like I don't sleep all night.
Yeah.
Like, I think that eventually Harry went and slept in the guest.
He looks
bedroom
like
or
death
something
warmed
like that.
over the next morning for sure.
It's like go time. We're supposed to be there at 7:30 for the driver's meeting or whatever, and I'm sure I look like hammered ass. I mean, I had to have been
To start.
yeah, to start the event, which is always a good place to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like 115 or.
Oh,
Oh
yeah,
my
and you-
God,
the
yeah.
first several days were extreme heat
Yeah.
wheeling, right?
And it did. The car did fine. That solved it. Like it never did that after that.
He did fix the AC when he put the motor in it, by
Uh-huh.
the way.
Nice.
Well, I had a cameraman with a
Cheater.
broken leg, but that's
Cheater.
I was cheating. The AC may or may not have worked, but at any rate, the car did fine until I drove
think
it up.
right after UA.
I drove it up the filter, which it drove
Oh,
right up
facing-
the filter.
One shot.
I one-shotted the filter. Like I
Yeah.
got lined up on the filter and
It's
by a
beautiful, yeah.
draw, and brop, somehow like used all 46 horsepower that fucking engine made, and it went up it. And then one of the wheels, the lug nuts weren't tight, and it destroyed a
I
wheel.
forgot about
I
that.
killed
It broke a wheel.
killed a method wheel. So that's a
Just wobbled it out?
$250. You know,
Yeah.
yeah. It just hogged out the holes. Like the wheel was junk. So I put a spare on. It's late because like I don't remember how we got so far behind, but we're going up.
Shit show.
We're driving up to the 300 on like going
Strawberry,
through
like through
strawberry.
Pine and Strawberry.
Yeah, pine and strawberry. And we came around a fucking corner, and I was the car in the front, and there was a fucking elk in the middle of the road.
Oh, shit.
That was the size of a horse. And that some bitch, I made eye contact with the elk, and the elk was like, "What do you want?" And I was like, I don't want to die.
Yeah.
That's what I want. And so he wasn't going to move. So like, and I'm carrying enough speed that. So I swerve over, and there's no death wobble, and I've got the spare tire and wheel and stuff on there. The rest of the UA goes fine.
You got home.
I get home.
I forget what it
I
did.
park the thing for a week, which is usually what happens
Yeah,
after
just-
Ultimate Adventure.
You don't want to
Like,
look at
yeah,
your car.
yeah.
You want nothing to do with your car. Like it doesn't even get unpacked.
You know that there's
Just leave it.
there's like a bag of chips under the
Right.
driver's seat, and you don't care, and like there's a cup of
You make sure all the food's out of the fridge
You
and
plug
unplug
the,
it.
you plug the cooler
That's
back
about
in.
it.
I just plug it in manually.
you
No.
don't want to have anything to do with the car.
Yeah.
I get back in it after the week of the cool down period, and right out of the gate, one of the hydraulic lines to the ram blows. Boom! It shoots hydraulic fluid all over the
His
yard,
fairly new concrete. Yeah.
and I'm just like, "Fuck this car! Like this thing, I can't. This cannot work. Like I can't keep doing this. This thing just everything that I'm trying to make this car nice, it just wants me to die."
Yeah.
That's just. There was something cool. Didn't you put a little tiny wheel on the top of that? Was that you? Was that car? You put a little wheel like on the top so it would lean on a wall. It would like roll down the wall. Oh. Maybe it was just a picture. Somebody
I
put
think
a.
I had I think I had a cam can up there with
Oh,
like Daystar was one of
Yeah.
the sponsors.
I don't remember.
So just a wheel as a roll bar, like
Yeah.
as something to.
It's a little wheel. I saw it. I thought it was that. It was a little wheel, like a wheelbarrow wheel on top of a cage, and he would lean over and he would just keep it off.
That one.
That's a
fun.
great idea.
Yeah,
but
it's
no,
smart.
I haven't done that.
I
Maybe
gotta-
it was top tuck.
I gotta
talent.
bolt some of those to my doors.
Yeah, everywhere. Just put them everywhere.
Anyways,
That's-
at that point I realized that like there was no winning. The car just hated me. And,
Evil.
like it was evil.
Have you ever
Well-
kept in touch with it with the new owner? Like,
I talked to him not too long ago.
Went to Tucson, didn't it?
Yeah, it went down to Tucson, and the guy was pretty happy with it. He like got all the dents that I'd put in it on UA fixed, and like
I wonder if it changed. I used to have a Bronco that did the same thing. Everything we did, the engine would vapor lock, no matter what. We had the engine rebuilt up and down, left and right, several times, new heads, everything on it, always vapor locked. I sold it, and it happened to that guy too. He had to put a different engine in it to get it to work,
Whoa.
and that was like the factory engine, the 400. But same thing, man. No matter what I did, it vapor locked, extra pumps.
I
Everything.
think he had good luck with it. I do think he tried to sell it a couple years
I
ago,
think
but
you
I don't
said,
know whether
yeah.
he did sell it or not.
Hmm.
I love that truck. I mean, it worked, and like it was everything that I'd planned or everything that I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
But it did hate me. It's,
Okay, so here's where we're at. I don't want to just make a really crazy long one, and there's a bazillion stories for all of us, So should we end this here? Have you guys back on in the future, and then we'll go over some more stuff back. Because we're running kind of long. I think we're pushing
That's
2
like 2
hours
hours,
now.
yeah.
Sure.
wow.
The
I would love to come back on, but
Yeah,
we would totally-
I've enjoyed this. Yeah, that's
because
cool.
we haven't even touched on your buggy being on almost every UA ever until you built this, right? We haven't touched on any of the other cars, whichever one's your favorite, what kind of wheeling you guys like, any other thing. Was there any standout things that we should be looking for in the new video coming out for Ultimate Adventure?
Or when is it coming out?
that's a good
Do you guys know?
question. I don't know.
Because normally, isn't it early November-ish? Or
So I think it's early December this year.
yes,
Yeah.
I think Trent's right.
Standout things to look for. Well, I will say this. For this year's Ultimate Adventure, I feel like this was the best route that I've ever put together. It was...
Trent has done a very good job every year that he's been We in should charge end of with
But-
this. That's because I wanted to bring that up too several times.
Yeah, so this is fourth year, I think fourth Ultimate Adventure that
Wow.
I've done the route for.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I don't say it. It's cool. It's amazing to have the opportunity. to
Yeah,
do
of
But
course.
no, but let's get this straight. It's not like Kristen actually said, "Hey, you're going to do this," and you got it. But he didn't
Well,
give you.
so-
He didn't say, "Hey, we're doing East Coast."
Here's the thing. So Christian usually tells Trent where to focus on.
Oh.
And
Yeah.
Trent's been on all of the UAs, so Trent knows what UA is about. But there's no way that anybody could have known that he was as good as he is at figuring out where we need to go.
Yeah,
Well,
because you got to
and
meet
he
with
is
parks
good,
and
like
see if
they're-
they'll take you.
Yeah,
and-
so basically what Christian does is he just basically circles a point on a map and just is like, just
find it.
go, I want it. Here's where I want to go. Hey, while you're there, here's where I want to go. Here's what I want to do, and make it happen or whatever. And it's really cool to try and like fill in those blanks. And but anyway, there's a giant learning curve.
You weren't nervous at all or anything like all that pressure
the
on
first
you
year
that
was
it's got to
awful.
be awesome.
The first year was just The first year was
where do you go? What do you do?
Well,
You kind of went to
the
new
first year
stuff.
was kind of a backup and punt. Or the first year was kind of easy because it was here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But it ended
So I
on the
knew- but
Rubicon, right?
No, it's Sand
No,
Hollow.
that was
Sand Hollow.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
so the year
So-
before was the year that we did the Rubicon and Fordyce.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
did you plan part of that? Or
No,
none of it?
I was just a
Okay, so that was
just a participant.
Harry Wagner and Christian planned that.
And
one.
Fred.
Yeah.
I think Fred did.
And Fred.
went and found.
Oh, he did
Isham.
Isham. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the first year was kind of easy because I knew where Table Mesa was, I knew
Yeah.
where Crown King was. I had no idea where DeSoto Mine was or whatever, and then everything from there forward, I'd never been to in my life. I didn't know that you could go from Bloody Basin to Camp Verde and never see a speck of highway.
That's awesome.
So anyway, we can get more into that if we come back or whatever.
Yeah.
But I feel like this year for me it was my favorite, just because it was such an incredible variety of terrain. Montana is an amazing state. I thought
really
of it
is.
We got
I
to tell
just
my
thought of
wife
it
that.
as- I just thought of it as like rolling hills and all that stuff.
Okay.
There are not some mountain ranges. There are a lot of mountain
Wow.
ranges.
We went
and
to,
there's
like,
some
During
incredible
the
trails.
event, it's a 7-day event. We went to like 57 different mountain lakes that were just
That's
all of
awesome.
them were
High-
absolutely beautiful,
High
and
mountain
all
lakes
of
are
them,
amazing.
all of
Yeah.
them were on the end of a really rad trail.
Is
Yeah.
that the Grand Teton? That's not the Teton. is it?
No,
That's
it's
in,
I don't even know
the,
where we were, but they were all beautiful.
Most of our time was spent actually in the Beaverhead Deer Lodge National Park, or National Forest, excuse me. But Beaverhead Deer Lodge is an enormous forest, and it's got different sections and stuff like that to it. But it's just rad because Montana has a bunch of mining history, and therefore it's kind of the same with Arizona. Arizona has a bunch of rad trails and stuff like that because it's got a bunch of mining history, and that's the reason those roads exist. And the same as with Montana. I'll throw a little shout out to it was a bit like hitting the easy button this year because there's a gentleman by the name of Willie Worthy, and if anybody that's a longtime reader of four-wheeler will recognize the name. He's a longtime freelancer, long-time contributor. Anyway, Willie has been doing this for 40-something years.
He's a great person.
He's
too.
a
an
fantastic
amazing
guy. And he and his wife have done not one, not two, but 3 books on nothing but
Whoa.
4x4 trails of Montana.
Oh wow!
And so
Who would have guessed?
They're it's a small company, locally published. It's called Grizzly Gulch Publications. But if you just 4x4 Trails of Western Montana, if you Google that, if you have any interest in going to Montana and doing any kind of four-wheeling at all,
Yeah.
he's got 4x4 Trails of Western Montana, South Central, and then I think South.
So there's that much.
There's and it's like
it's
a
incredible.
triptych style deal where it's old school. He's got GPS coordinates and stuff like that, but it's old school trip odometer resets.
Nice.
Yep.
Follow the deal or whatever.
Same as the local books
It's-
in all the states.
yeah, it's crazy. The backcountry trails,
The Wells-
in Arizona, and all that
So-
stuff.
Yeah, so the Wells ones are great. Willie is his career is built on basically being answering tech questions in the magazines, and I mean he has years and years. I mean, like I said, I've been doing this. Trent's been doing this 25 years, 22 years,
22 years. Yeah.
and I've been doing this 20 years, and this is a guy that
Has
both
been
of
doing it
us
for over 40 and
look
look
up
up
to.
to
Yeah.
for sure.
Wow.
Mad respect for the guy, and anyway, so when he circled that spot on the map, I turned around and bought all 3 of Willie's books, and Willie's books were the reason. I think that not only was I able to come up with such a cool route, but I also knew like what I could and couldn't work into. You know what I mean?
You make it sound like there's almost an infinite amount of trails out there. Imagine going there, not knowing anything, and picking those 2
Just
or
trying
those
to
2.
figure out which ones.
You would spend a lifetime, or
Exactly.
years exploring before you figured out what
Yeah.
was good or maybe could have been better.
I tell people all the time, like the 4 of us could spend the rest of our useful days just exploring the back roads of Arizona.
Yeah,
Right.
Wow.
And I mean that's like you said, like the places that we went just in Montana, and we went into 2 other states during Ultimate Adventure this year.
Yeah.
Just the places that we were in Montana, like we could have, we did not spend nearly enough time in each of the places.
And I pre-ran
because
other spots. I pre-ran other spots that were just as cool, but ended up not making the cut just because of logistics or a variety of different things.
You only have so many days.
You only have so many days. You only have so much time,
and you got to get them.
You got to get those miles in.
through the off-road part and to the camp.
And it's
without
more than
spending
that.
a 12-hour, 15-hour.
There's a
day
bunch
on
of
the road.
logistics too, because it's like you need to know where the nearest gas station is at all times. You need to know where the nearest parts store is at all times. You need to know where the nearest place that somebody can have a part shipped to at all times.
So that's all you log all that.
This is all stuff that like nobody thinks about,
Right.
but is actually something that's going on in his mind, in Trent Mcgee's mind, and Christian's mind.
So
while they're planning it.
On that, for the people that there's a guy behind him with a trailer. There is no Yukon trailer behind anybody.
No,
I mean
everybody's
bringing.
There has been there have been sponsors off and on over the years that have had.
I think the batteries are dying.
Yeah, have had a trailer shadow the crew, so to speak, or whatever, and that's actually that was the case this year. Or whatever, but there's no trailers allowed. I mean, there's no. The only reason a trailer is allowed is if you go into a repair facility, like that. There's no other way to get there.
Yeah.
Right. Huh.
AAA.
Yep.
So there was
basically,
there was no. Did you do any parks this time, or is everything in park?
No. So in the out west, there's no need to do parks.
Nice.
It's all good.
That's awesome.
What was your standout rig out of the whole group? Like yeah.
I don't know. Derek's was pretty rad.
That's the Silverado.
That was the Silverado.
It was a good year. I mean, the van really, like I said,
the Scout.
Van,
Oh God, the van. Yeah, that's probably the standout for me with the van.
the van
I've wanted one of
kicked
those
ass.
vans.
Me
since
too,
I was
dude.
a little kid.
My wife will not let me have a van. She's like, creeper van. You're gonna pick up kids with candy.
Yeah,
I'm like,
if I had to pick
cans are
one, it would be the
badass.
van.
Every time we stopped, we gave him shit about having candy in the back or something, and he was like,
he had
the
the
so
ice
good.
cream
He was
thing,
like,
by the way.
he was
Oh,
like,
the
come
sound?
on.
The sound.
He had the ice
anybody
cream.
can get in the van.
You just have to
anytime they
pick your
want.
own from back here.
He had the ice cream music thing, by the way, like
That's
a
awesome.
ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
What happens when you get into the van? Can you get out?
I have to be hypnotized to go back to that. I'm
Free,
just kidding.
free candy and puppies.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, and Brody's side
They
chick
were
was
all
rad.
really good. That Scout was
Oh,
rock
dude,
solid.
the Black Scout and the guys in the Scout. What the hell were their names?
Joe and Cody.
Joe
right?
and Cody.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were like super quiet and super chill and just like had no issues. They kicked ass.
Wow.
It was amazing.
Same with the vehicle. Just no issues.
No,
yeah,
no.
yeah.
I think there was like a shock mount broke one day or
Yeah.
something, but that was it.
Well, I think it cracked and he welded it back together
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
it
Wow.
fully broke. But yeah, I mean, it was such a good group this year. I mean, I'm horrible with names, and if I don't really care for you, I really don't really bother knowing your name or whatever. And I'm
Mike.
sorry, and that's, I mean, it's just part of it or whatever. And there have been years where I couldn't hardly recite any of the readers' names, but I remember all these guys.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
This was an amazing group this
yeah,
year.
we've actually, and I feel like since for whatever reason, I mean, this is no dig at Rick Payway, but since Christian started, I feel like we've had a really solid group of people every year.
Yeah.
There's been a couple of duds,
There always are.
Right.
but
The-
yeah.
So what was the worst breakdown?
This year, the fire.
Ooh.
Yeah, so-
Ken Smith had a pretty bad fire.
Oof. Engine.
Crony's out. You're out, Ken.
Time
Time for a new Willys.
He'd busted motor mounts the previous day, and it was a pain in the butt. Actually, I guess you were involved with a fix, but
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we changed the motor mounts out that night in the parking lot. I think it was the night before the actual event.
it was the first. No.
no, it was the first road day.
It was the night of the first trail day. So we were going to the road day the next day.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
First
yeah.
road day next day.
So the next day when we started heading for the road was when it burst into flames.
So
I don't really know
apparently-
what happened, but I
Apparently,
figured
a a tranny line had gotten damaged, like a tranny cooler line had gotten
It was
damaged.
it was a fight to get those motor mounts in and out because he had headers and it was in an LS and it's in a.
I don't
remember.
Even my stock motor mounts I just replaced one. It was such a pain to get
That's
out.
the thing is like we were under there for like hours fighting those motor mounts. It was like if somebody didn't put a pinhole in a tranny line, it would be a miracle.
So apparently it was peeing tranny fluid on the exhaust, which then burst into flame.
Jeez.
But then it caught the wiring on fire right around the battery and burned the battery down. And I mean, it got bad. Like I guess it.
They pulled into like a Napa parking lot.
They were literally in a Napa parking lot. But it took their fire extinguisher, Keith Bailey's fire extinguisher.
It's a chemical fire.
And then Joe and Cody, the readers, they happened to pull over as well. They emptied their fire. They said if it hadn't been for the third fire extinguisher, they probably would have lost the car.
I wonder if that fire stick, the E50 thing, you seen that one that like looks like a flare that puts out all these fires? I wonder if you should check it out. It's pretty badass.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, it melted the battery down. It melted most of the wiring or whatever. So they rebuilt half the wiring harness on the car.
Damn.
Wow. Kept going though. They made it.
Yeah. They were there that night.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That was one of the ones I wish
the last trail, the last day for sure. I mean,
I wish I'd been there.
And this is a great reminder that one fire extinguisher for anything oil, electrical is almost never enough.
Yeah.
And, I learned that when my JK
Especially
burnt
the
down
little ones.
on the side of I-10.
I never heard the story, Max. Like I know it burnt.
I had a little thin, cool-looking fire extinguisher. It went like 3-4 times. That oil fire could care less. It just started ripping out. And the only reason it didn't burn to the ground and I got all my parts back is because this pressure washing van stopped with a tank of water and they just the hood.
No kidding.
You couldn't get to the hood. It was so hot already. They just jammed it between the hood and the fender and started with a big old nozzle and like a compressor, the whole works.
Wow.
I've seen something similar, like where an alternator froze up.
Oh, wow.
But kept turning until it turned into a big old block of liquid hot metal, practically. Oof. And there was nothing like a fire extinguisher was not putting it out.
No. And it's, that ATF4 oil. I mean, I've had multiple people tell me it's extremely flammable.
Oh, yeah.
And really, it's a chemical fire. It's not just like a wood fire on the ground. Right. You can snuff it out. Like you can at least contain it till you can get something else going or dirt. This is not the case,
Yeah.
I don't know if we have time, or I could tell my quick story.
We have plenty of time.
We got time. But
what is it?
We're fine.
But
we're totally fine.
I had a JKU, automatic, the same axles, tires, everything I have now on the Liberty, and I have 1999 Dodge Ram 2500 axles. Right, great deal at the junkyard. I think I got $340 for both, but I've never been so filthy dirty in my life, crawling around under that truck on welded rims. Like I had to drag the rear and front axle. No, the front was already towards the aisle, which they had a little lift thing, but I had to drag the rear axle under the truck out the aisle.
Is that a 70?
No, it's 60s. It's 260s, luckily. But I have no hubs. It's those large unit bearings.
But isn't it a front vacuum disconnect too?
Nope, all that's gone.
Okay.
You're right. It's a CAD, the central axle disconnect. And I got the Yukon solid shafts all the way through, 35 spline, everything. But, my front drive shaft always spins. And I had just gotten done putting coilovers on the front. So, like, everything sat a little taller, a little different. And I was going down to do a big old test run at Sunflower, just for fun, meet a buddy. And I was going 70 miles an hour down the fast lane on I-10. And that front drive shaft or something in the transfer case just didn't agree anymore. And it just made a horrendous, like something insane. And the Jeep's like, whoa, like, something's really wrong, but you don't know what. And you're still moving at full speed. And so I just drifted, at 70, 60, 50. I just let it coast over to the other side. And the second I hopped out, I looked under the Jeep to see what was going on. It's like in one of those movies when the firefighter opens the door and the whole ceiling's on fire. The whole bottom of the Jeep had that like backdraft fire, where like you're waiting for it to just go boom, And I had a fire extinguisher, a thin black, like multi, whatever the ABC. It was like what you're supposed to carry. But I mean, that thing puffed like 3 or 4 times. Like, it'd probably been in the Jeep for like 2 years, getting compacted.
So the lesson
knows?
is
Yeah.
carry a real fire extinguisher and check it.
That is for sure the lesson. Or 2, 1 on each side, because even in your story, one doesn't do the job.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean,
You're right.
Not for a chemical fire.
Yeah.
After that, I actually added a seatbelt cutter and moved my fire extinguisher right here, so I could get to it in the seat still. You know what I mean?
But
knowing that it's not
luckily, it was basically contained to a full, like, the wiring harness, the engine, like a full meltdown of like that whole front section. Underneath the fire didn't really affect anything, nothing critical. Because I mean, I got my winch back. I got the axles back, my coilovers back. The rear drive shaft went in without any changes into my new build, just by pure luck. I mean, I got a bunch of steering, control arms. This Jeep went to the insurance on like broken Dana 30
They were
on
stilts.
like no
You
steering.
got like little stubs welded in.
Yeah, dude,
it
was literally
So the
axle
moral
to
of
the
the
frame
story-
welded on stilts.
I think the moral of the story is burn down your JK
Yeah.
and build something interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You get way more
Oh,
clout.
and the
I actually-
JK was totaled.
Oh, it was totaled.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, the guy the behind the dash, it was melting and dripping onto the floor. Like
Nice.
the guy was like, "Oh no, when I see a fire like this, he's like, we don't even try." He's like, "You will chase these demons for the rest of your days
That's
if
true.
you try to
He's not wrong.
yeah." But I took it to a local off-road shop. It was like Thanksgiving weekend. So like the guy's like, "Yeah, you have 4 days and we're picking it up." And it was rolling right into Thanksgiving. So, I'm very grateful for all the people that put in some extra work. Otherwise, those
that's
parts
rad.
would have rolled away. And, I would have gotten an extra $1,000 was like the rider, was like, "Oh, you have accessories,
Right.
But, and so I basically had all the parts for the Liberty. And I ended up buying, I bought the Liberty. I bought a 4-to-1 transfer case and a bunch of metal with like my insurance money, and said goodbye to the big loan, and which I still owed a fairly good chunk of money on
Yeah,
it.
you actually got money back.
What,
Yeah.
what year was it?
A 14,
Okay.
and it burnt down in late 18, I think.
Yeah.
See? It all worked out.
Yeah,
It did.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
yeah.
If you have a JK,
Burn it
I
down.
shouldn't even say this.
It really,
Have a JK, burn it down, and
But-
build something interesting.
but really, like I had built everything on that too.
I'm
the front.
legally not allowed to say that. Kind
Unbolt
of thing,
your
I'm
stuff.
sure.
Yeah,
Burn that bitch down.
but that Jeep did every hard trail I ever wanted to. And I think the worst thing that's ever happened to that thing, besides this last fatal incident, was like a flat tire. Like I never broke anything on it before, and it had plenty of work done. Axle swap, cage, long arm.
It's funny. He's like,
Um,
he calls me. He's like, "It's on fire," and he's like, "You think you could come get it at the time?" Because you
Yeah.
didn't know the truck was going to take it or whatever. But he sends me a picture of the drive shaft, and it still has the transfer case gear attached to it.
Yeah.
It came out with it, dude. I was like,
Nice.
how bad is it? I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
I
Big
don't
hole.
Mike
I don't
and
know where we were going, but I swear to God, Trent Mcgee and I were driving somewhere, and we were driving down the 10, and I swear to God, there was a pinion with part of a drive shaft, an axle, an axle pinion, and part of a drive shaft on the side of the road.
Was it near Thanksgiving time?
No, it was in another state.
It was in California, and it was just laying there on the inside of the
And
10.
I think you said it was like 18-wheeler size.
I think it
Oh,
was.
okay.
Oh,
But
wow.
like, I still
Big
to this
boom.
day kicks me in the
Big
balls
boom.
that I didn't say
Yep.
stop.
Yeah, you got to get
Go
that.
grab it.
Be a
Big
wicked
boom.
shifter.
But seriously, like,
He heard that one.
how do you drive? Yeah, I'm hoping that was his tandem.
Oh yeah.
I'm guessing it was.
He
'cause it
locks
wasn't
one
a tow
axle and
truck.
not the other. Rips it right out.
And Mike and I had to go up and down the freeway a couple times to find that drive shaft because it hit
Oh,
some
yeah.
car. It like.
Oh, and this is the one you just put in your.
No, the front drive shaft was done.
Okay.
The rear is what I reused.
Gotcha.
That's
Still
what-
to this day, flawless. Knock on wood here.
Right.
There you go.
Don't break that chair.
Yeah. That would have been the sign to get a new drive shaft if Trent is now like laying on the
Trent's chair
ground.
broke.
Oh, that's funny, dude. I absolutely want to thank you guys for coming on, and we're definitely going to have you again. Maybe the next one will be around a campfire if you give us more than
Ooh.
30 minutes. You literally called, like, I go, now, I'm on the road right now. We're going camping.
I did kind of
right
say,
now.
like, We need to go now.
And the weather's getting great. Now is the time to go do some.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fire restrictions.
agree.
And both your stuff is
Yeah.
running,
Yep.
right?
Mine is Trent.
I
It's
have all
still
the parts
packed.
I have all the parts to fix it.
Okay,
Uh-oh.
can you fix mine too?
Hey, on your buggy, did you ever put that axle back in after you had the pinion or the ring gear come loose? You were going to swap out the little axle. You
Yeah,
have a
so-
big axle?
So,
so I sold that to a kid actually.
So like 2 years after and I think he did all of the building, built a Dana 60 for the back of that buggy.
Yeah.
It actually went into the car.
Yeah, and
Nice.
actually,
But not
there's
before-
a Dana 60 in the car.
Oh, that's another good story.
Save it.
Okay.
For another time.
We'll save that one for another
I don't know.
time.
Is it really good?
It's a really good story.
Okay.
Do it. He's in the mood. Let's do it.
All right.
Reload your
What-
beers
what's-
and let's go.
Do you want another beer?
I'll take one. I don't know what story
Okay,
you're getting
so,
into. So I'll get it.
Okay. So I was over here and we decided that Trent we had this Dana 60 for the back of his buggy, and we decided that it was prudent to bring it over to my house to weld everything up to put it in the car. So I came over with my Dodge truck and his trailer, and he ratchet strapped it to the front bar at the front of the trailer. You know, it's got it's a flatbed steel bed trailer, but it has like a tubular bar and a winch up at the front. Hi, Holly. And so
all of a sudden, he can't finish the story.
so we get this axle loaded up there with a cherry picker and drop it on the front of the trailer and like ratchet strap it down. And I shit you not, Trent kicks the ratchet strap and is like, "Well, that's not going anywhere. It's fine.
Oh, shit.
It'll never go anywhere."
Like the old
And
man.
I was like, "Okay." So I peel out. And I drive down the road here, and I jump onto. I need to go buy the
Go
CVS.
get ice cream.
I'm gonna go get ice cream.
Ice cream.
For the wife. It's Friday night. So so I'm at the CVS. I buy the ice cream. I get back in the truck. I've double parked it at in the back side of the parking lot or whatever. I pull out onto Deer Valley. Or Pinnacle
I think
Peak.
so. One of the two. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. I pull out onto it. The axle just jumps off the trailer.
Like a
So
ski.
fully dressed. There's a rotor rolls across and like is in one of the lanes of travel oncoming. And I'm like, what the fuck am I gonna? I'm by myself.
I'm not gonna
Oh,
lift
yeah,
a
you gotta
fully
lift
dressed
it.
Dana 60 back.
Was
on
it-
the-
was
I'm
it
by
at least a
myself.
rear? Was
I'm
it a
by
rear?
It was a rear.
Oh, okay.
I'm
That's
by
better.
myself. I've got ice cream.
It's still heavy,
Yeah.
and you're not
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
pick it up by yourself.
No.
Not dressed.
And you have ice cream.
I have ice cream. I somehow run over and grab the rotor that literally went 3/4 of the way across a 4-lane road and
Jeez.
came to a halt. Picked up the other rotor, which also came off. They're all, road scarred, and it's Trent's brand new axle. And I'm like, oh god, he strapped it down though. That's the only. That's the only
saving grace,
the
my
kid it
fault.
really
It's
is.
totally my fault.
And
He
kicked
did.
it.
He did kick it and say, "This will never go anywhere."
That's
just
all,
like
no,
we
I think I
all
said
would.
it wasn't going far. I think is what I was saying.
Oh,
That's
which is
funny.
true.
It didn't even go that far.
Didn't go
Only
far.
made it 3 lanes.
So I'm like, I walk over and grab the axle, and I'm like, with everything
One
that
end.
I've got, I'm shitting out an O-ring, I've got intestines coming through my abdominal wall. I'm trying to drag it back over to the trailer. I get it over near the trailer. I lift one end up, and I hear squeaky, 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 squeaky. And this man-child that was 7 feet tall on a bicycle with a squeaky chain rides up. And he
This
says,
is Debo.
it was like Debo. He was he was like this gigantic 7-foot tall child that was huge. And he said, sir, do you need some help? And I said, yes. And I said,
Oh, shit, that's funny.
at this point I had lifted one side of the axle up onto the trailer, and I said, just hold it down, and I'll lift the other side up on the trailer Like,
Yeah.
just pivot
Yeah.
it up.
Just keep it. Yeah.
Just make
keep it
sure
from
this
rolling.
end
Yeah,
doesn't
make sure it doesn't
fall
roll.
off. I grab the one end and lift up, and I look over at Debo, and he's got a hold of the fucking axle, and he's holding it up like in the air with one arm.
Oh shit!
And I'm like, well, why don't you just put it on the trailer then,
Right.
you big bastard?
What are the
To this
chances?
day, so we get it back on the trailer. I've found the rotors that skittered across the highway. Strapped
I
everything
appreciate
back
that.
down.
Yeah.
Everything's road rashed. I'm like, oh boy, sorry.
It's fine.
I ratchet strap it down like 4 or 5 times better than Trent had it. Kick it and say,
You
this
kick
is
it.
going
It's
nowhere.
fine. It's fine.
Debo, the kid, is like, oh, good night, sir. And he gets back on his bike and goes, a squeaky, 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 and rides
All
down
slow.
the road. And I've never in my life, I've never seen the kid again or before or since. And I have no idea where he came from, but by God, he was huge.
That's crazy.
And he could lift a Dana 60.
He lifted
That's
the fucking,
impressive.
He lifted the Dana 60 like it was a stick of firewood.
That's
awesome.
funny.
He was like, I looked over and I remember like making eye contact while he was holding the other end of the Dana 60, and I was like everything I had, and he was just like with one hand.
But
What's the problem, sir?
but was anybody home?
It don't matter.
Oh, I don't know.
No, like if you looked into his eye, was there anybody home?
I don't think he knew what was going on. No,
Okay.
if that's where you're going.
He's mango.
He hasn't peaked.
I just wondered.
Yeah. Oh, that's
awesome.
funny. Yeah, that is awesome. What's
I was pretty sure the cops were going to show up, and then how do you explain that?
Well, and
And I think he'd
They're
even
probably
had a
not
couple
gonna-
beers before he left
Oh.
here.
I'm not going to comment on that.
No, of course not.
Of course
I
not.
don't drink.
no.
Right.
that's rich. I say on that note, we want to thank you guys for showing up, coming in, or letting us come over here and chat with you.
Thank you. Thanks
Yeah,
for
this,
having
this is a
appreciate
great
it.
time.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Next time you see my application, remember this moment.
Yeah.
Remember this.
Denied.
That again.
That's rich.
Apply with a Liberty.
Yeah,
you go.
that's what I told him,
Apply
man.
with
Well, you
Liberty.
could be his co-driver.
The Liberty would have a fair chance.
Mhm.
I know we say
Just
that, but it needs a little bit of work. We got to
Does
make
it?
sure that. Well,
pretty good.
it's not fully
okay, all right,
tested.
all right. So I'll
We,
say
you're not confident in it yet. You wouldn't take it to Moab, would you?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's
here's
new.
my last little thought about UA, I there's always guys that was like, I'll be ready someday.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
If it's got a cage and it's got 35s and it's got lockers and you've been wheeling it,
Yep.
it's ready.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll say this: you put it in,
Do
I'll
it.
be your co-driver for sure.
So,
I'll
yeah,
pitch in.
Life's too
A whole
short.
week of that, huh? Do people ever change co-drivers, man?
I think it's
No.
part of the rules,
No.
right?
I've seen guys walk a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
Really?
There have
not
been-
because the driver didn't want them in the car,
There
but
have
because
been a-
they didn't want it in the car.
I
with
swear
There have been
I-
a bunch of driver co-driver
Oh, yeah.
like,
Drama.
drama, you know.
I swear
pretty-
there was a UA where everyone had to go up a co-driver seat or back.
So
Oh, yeah.
we usually do that,
Oh,
where
okay.
we call it a,
We used
a
to.
co-driver swap, but this year with COVID,
Oh, of
it
course.
hasn't been.
But
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
in normal times.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
actually a really good time. Like,
Yeah.
that's a that's fun. And
It's all about like getting to know each other
Yeah,
better.
I like
and all
that.
stuff. So yeah,
I have some great
That's all I-
stories that I could
Yeah.
tell.
I know. That's why we got to get into it again for sure.
Well, and there's a whole bunch of stuff.
Well, we
I
gotta-
I feel like we talked about UA a lot, but
And
there's
yeah,
a bunch
like,
we haven't even touched
We
on.
didn't even talk about the car build
I know.
Yeah, or that car build,
or
Well,
that car
now
build
we know.
from the year before.
Next time it needs to be at a campfire, and we can talk about some of the builds.
I'm pro that.
Sure.
Do you need a plug?
We're gonna come back tomorrow, and we're gonna do 2 more weeks of
my
this.
my wife
Sunday
might
night,
have an
that's-
issue with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna go to hell.
No, everything is battery powered, so we
Oh,
can do
really?
it.
Oh,
We've
okay.
done one on the truck.
Okay,
before.
good.
So-
I like that.
Several of
Let's
them.
do it.
Right on, man. All right. Hey, thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow. What's your IG?
I'm Verne.Simons on Instagram.
Verne with an E.
VERNESIMONS.
And your Mcgee Media.
Mcgee Media 2.
Oh, right.
Was one taken?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Who
what
is this
that?
asshole?
Media 2.
Do we need to go find this guy?
Mcgee Media 2.
We can bury bodies. What is this about?
Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Yeah.
Cheers.
We're pretty lucky if none of us have a nut hanging out.
Dude, on the Denver Post in Colorado, there was a guy sitting there. It was like after one of the Super Bowls they won, and his nut was hanging out.
No
He was
way.
front page of the fucking Denver Post News, bro.
And everyone missed it?
Huge hairy
Somebody
nut.
got fired.
Yeah, I'm sure. All full color.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was a good time.